Hello, I'm Joshua Ranger, UW Oshkosh archivist, and today I'm going to talk to you about using historical newspapers as you research the Jim Crow era. It's probably no mystery to you that the newspapers are critical primary source for historians when researching events and opinions. From the articles to the editorials to the comics and advertisements, newspapers provide critical evidence of what people did, said, and thought. Now, digital technologies have revolutionized how historians can discover and access old newspapers, but the resources are scattered among many different sites and services. I've listed in your course page several different databases to consider, but the one I think you'll have the most luck with for Southern papers is our link to newspapers.com. And I'll use that site as our example, but there are things you should know and always keep in mind, regardless of which database, which historical resource you're using. The first thing you'll always want to do when searching a newspaper database is to check out the coverage, both geographic and chronological. So many databases, including several I've listed here, will include a single issue of a publication, or maybe just a few weeks or months worth. And now maybe that's all there was, or maybe that's all that survived, but it can give a false sense of completeness if all you do is review the titles. Now, the different databases, some of them do the job better than others in showing off what their coverage is. Newspapers.com is among the best at it, though. We're going to go on your course page here and scroll down to our link for newspapers.com. And the first thing we want to do is check that coverage by clicking on the Papers tab. And we start seeing all the different papers they have from around the country and the world. But I want to put in the dates of your project, 1870 to 1940. And we start getting a heat map here of which states have the best coverage. And we see some darker colors here in the South. And if I start clicking on those states that we're interested in, we start to get a pretty good idea of just where the strengths are and how much we have. And what we see here, of course, is the western and the northern states tend to be a little bit better within the South, other than maybe the deep South. But Mississippi or Alabama's got some pretty strong coverage there as well. So I'm pretty confident that you all be able to find a lot of newspaper content for your papers here. But it needs to be said that for the majority of these papers, these are traditionally white-owned papers. If you're interested in African American perspectives, you'll want to check out the database African American Newspapers from the link on your course page. There is a lot less depth to that database, however. Now, the other thing you need to remember when using historical newspapers is that you are searching the full text of every newspaper page that these sites have ever scanned. Just imagine how many words that is. Or just in a single issue that's 5 columns wide and printed on giant pieces of paper. Now, daily and even weekly papers over a run of 10 to 30 years, and this is going to be an incredible amount of words. And there's no additional description to help you. There's no keywords or tags that others have provided. You are simply searching all of those words. So it's rare that you won't find anything when you do a search, but you more than likely find way too much. So expect a lot of false hits. Now you can control this by not searching for really common words. Like you're not going to search for church or voting or school or civil rights on its own at least. Try to search for proper names if you have some from your secondary research. You can also limit by date and place if it'll help control the numbers, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed. Finally, remember that all of these papers are written in the language of the time, since journalists and editors were all products of their time period, and sometimes this means we need to use out-of-date terms. Pay close attention to the language that's used in the articles you do find, and then try searching again using those new terms that you learned. So back to Newspaper Archive. Now I know I'm going to start a search now, and I know that in the early 1890s, laws were being passed across the South requiring railroads to create different train cars for white and black people. And I'm interested in what the reaction was to those laws. Now, I use secondary sources to discover that separate coaches was the name of such laws. That was the phrase they called it, separate coaches. So I'm going to type that in quotes, so I keep it as a phrase. I'm going to limit it to 1890 to 1893. I'm going to leave the location open for right now. And we'll see that just as we might expect, a lot of southern states were reporting on this, and we can click on any of these to discover them, or we can click on a specific state if you want, just to limit to those. When you bring it up, the entire page will appear, and it'll highlight within the newspaper where the search term was located. If you like that and you want to keep it for later, all you have to do is click the print and download button here. You can select the entire page of print, or you can select a portion. I'm going to do that. You just manipulate this box like that, and then you can save as a PDF. Puts it in my downloads folder, and when I look at that, you'll see that it actually captures all the citation information as well, so you don't have to write that down separate or try to remember what paper it came from. So that's pretty slick. So again, I recommend you check out all of our newspaper databases, exploring them, and remember, while they are all a little different, try to remember to get a good sense of the coverage, both geographically and chronologically, and remember to limit your searching to unique and period terms or proper names. Good luck.